you might notice that you either lost a little bass or it just has a bit of a different feel to it. Friends, don't let friends overpay for speaker stands. This is one of those areas where you see people use all kinds of things, from cinder blocks to solid wood designs, MDF. I wouldn't be surprised if someone was claiming they had some sort of space age meteorite material that decoupled from the floor. Really, there's all kinds of things you can buy on the internet, and stands are one of these where it can be priced anywhere from, in this case, I'll post it up there, but I think these are around $50 each, up to, thousands of dollars for your speaker stands. Should you really be spending thousands of dollars on speaker stands? If you want to, that's perfectly fine. There are a lot of really cool designs out there, and I've looked at some of them, and I mean, they do look really nice, things like that. But performance-wise, sound-wise, what are you getting from something like that versus something like this today that we're gonna put together, and then we're gonna make something around 5 improvements to it, and we're gonna see where it lands then. See what kind of improvements it makes from just out of the box to what we get after some of these simple modifications. Is it gonna be all that you need for your speaker stand needs? In most cases, I think that's gonna be yes, but let's see what happens here. What we're gonna look at today are these Monolith speaker stands. We're just gonna put a pair of these together, give you guys an idea of what you're dealing with. And like I said, we're gonna go through some simple modifications to these to see if they're everything you need and maybe more. Or maybe they'll be terrible. We're gonna find that out too. Something kind of interesting about these, when I look at the description online, they state that, in some places they state that they can hold 100 pounds each, in others they state 75 pounds each. So we're gonna test that as well, likely with something a lot more than 100 pounds. Just because I have a hard time believing that these are rated for anything less than 100. I mean, they're honestly pretty solid when these are together. This isn't the first time I've used these. I actually have another set of these that I use for other various reasons in testing and things like that. But I needed another pair, and I thought I would make a video here to give everyone some idea of what these really are and what kind of improvements you can get out of them. They're packaged pretty securely. Each one is protected within the individual cardboard around each one. And then I assume we're gonna have to get a couple plates out of here for the top and the bottom, as well as some simple hardware. As far as prices go, I did find some ones that were cheaper that we could have done a video on, but I had the most experience with these, and these ones offer, some of the right characteristics I'm looking for modifying this. So these are what we went with, just went with what I know, and I think these are pretty popular. Plus they come in 3 sizes, 24, 28, and 32, I believe. This is the 28-inch model. Don't remember if I mentioned that. All right, and then we got the final, this is the top piece. One thing I would say, the top plate on these is a little small, and maybe in a future video I'll do that, but I'd kind of like to make, a new top plate that's a little larger. Probably do it out of hardwood, honestly. I think that would look a little better as well as, perform a little better in this case. As you guys likely guessed, since this is square tubing, one of the obvious modifications we're gonna do is, we're gonna fill this with sand. I've seen everything from lead shot, steel shot, sand, cat litter. I'm not sure what else is out there. I don't know if I'd suggest cat litter just because that's pretty good at absorbing moisture. And I don't know if you'd really want these to absorb moisture in there. It might rust things out eventually. I picked up sand myself, bought it at Home Depot. It's just kids' play sand. Anything you'd use to fill up like a sandbox, stuff like that. It did come wet, so I did have to dry it out completely before we were gonna use it today. And the reason I'm bringing this up early is because if you look at the end, this is on the bottom of these. It looks like it's semi-sealed up, but it's not completely sealed. There's some welds here, but sand can still get around that. I'm gonna use a way that I myself, it's a really simple way to kind of seal that up, but another way you could, use something to seal this right here. Some sort of caulking or something like that that would take care of all that for you. Like I said, I'm gonna use a different method that might be easier, more accessible for some people, but I'll show that in a little bit. So, let's get to it. Like I said, this shouldn't take long to put together. So, and my method here, since we are not going to be sealing up the bottom, we can actually just get right to it. So you got this plate. We're gonna do the bottom plate first, right here. Just need a large Phillips for that. This isn't the easiest way to assemble these, but for the camera, so you guys have a little bit of a view here, this is how we're gonna do it today. Ideally, I would just put these 4 posts on the ground, tip them up, and put the steel hat, you know, or the bottom on there. Then you can just line everything up and quickly get this done in a matter of minutes. So anyways, we'll get these tightened down. We don't have to go crazy on how tight we get them here because we're gonna wanna square them up after we get the top plate on as well. If you don't take a speed square, level, ruler, something like that to these, they're gonna be quite a ways off. Probably won't be that noticeable, but if you're looking for it, it's gonna be there. They won't be square. So you can see this plate here. This is kind of the annoying part. I'm putting this on here before we put the sand on. So I just kind of need to do it though to square everything up. So we're gonna put this top plate on now, then we'll get everything squared up, and then we'll remove it, and then we'll move on. And I'm putting it on the ground here just because it's a lot easier to install like this rather than, you know, on its side. Something I want to show you guys too is just how loud these are. You hear that ringing that carries on for like 10 seconds after you hit one of these? That's definitely one of the things we're going to be fixing. Okay, like I said, once we have that on there, let's put this on here just to try to get everything pretty close to square. I'm not looking for perfection here. Over. That's good. Flip it over again. This side's gonna need some adjustment. Wow. Okay. If I didn't fix this one would have been pretty noticeable. I suggest just doing this. It takes 10 extra minutes, if that, to get everything squared up. As picky as I know a lot of us can be, this is just a simple step to take that'll make things look a lot better when this is all done. Now that we've got that done, we're gonna have to take that top hat off again anyways to move on to the sand filling. I won't make you watch me do that. We're gonna go right into the next step here. I'm really not sure how well the audio is gonna come out in this next part because it's insanely windy out here, but if it doesn't work out, I'll just switch over to voiceover. So, like I mentioned earlier about how we were gonna seal up the bottoms, easiest way I found to do that is actually to use these small garbage bags. This is just a pretty small garbage bag. I don't know exactly what size it is, if it's considered bathroom or what, but I open them up, give me the best chance at it. Basically, shove it on in here. And essentially, I just want this to create a seal at the bottom, and then all the sand is going to push down on this and seal it all up, so nothing should ever be able to get out the bottom. So we're actually just going to do that for each hole. Which way is better? I'm not sure. I just think this is really simple, and it's something that most everyone has laying around their house, so it's not even really necessary, but it's going to prevent any chance of sand coming out the bottom. I did the same thing on the last set I had too. I've never had any sand come out. Okay, now we're going to get incredibly scientific and use a little spade and a piece of cardboard to get this in. Really, you don't have to do anything crazy here. Just get the sand in any way you want. Do it outside so that you don't have to worry about making a mess, because likely no matter what you do, the sand is going to go all over the place. What you want to make sure you do is give these a nice shake. One, to drop that plastic bag all the way to the very bottom, get it nice and sealed up with the weight of the sand. And two, the sand will just settle in there a little better if you do this, so you can fit more in, add a little bit more weight, and hopefully, improve some of the things we're looking to do here. Just like that, we got one done. Now just do that 3 more times. Every once in a while, I get a little bit smarter. Doing this in a tornado here is a really good idea. Sand does so well in wind. So I filled up 3 of the 4 of them, and I just want to show you guys a little bit of a difference in what we're dealing with here. This is the original. You can hear how that sounds. Now this is one filled with sand. Nothing. Empty. Sand. Pretty huge difference. All right, we got all 4 filled up. One thing you're gonna want to do right away before we install the top plate, just make sure the threads are cleared out, get any little stones, sand out of there. Just a real simple little cleanup will do the trick. Then we can simply put these on. I then get into some actual, well, I shouldn't say actual modifications. The sand one is definitely going to make the biggest difference of this whole ordeal here. It does so many things, really. I mean, for one, it makes your speaker a lot less likely to tip over if you have little kids, which that alone is a big plus. Or even animals. I know cats occasionally like to jump on top of the bookshelf speakers, and it's possible that they could tip it over. They're likely not going to tip over this. These weigh a lot with the sand in there, so it's pretty secure in that regard. We're going to give another option too later where we're actually going to be, it'll make that even a little less likely to tip in some cases, just in how we put the speaker on top of this, let's just say. So in a lot of cases, this is all you're going to need. You could put these on your carpet. They would do just fine. You could add some feet to this, and they do come with it too. Just to show you guys what these look like, these are the spiked feet that these will come with. These will do great on carpet, things like that. But if you put these on your hardwood floor, they will damage them. Any slight movement, it's gonna dig right through it, make a big scratch, and it's also gonna put some holes in it. So just so you guys are aware on that. Like I said, they're M8s, so you have plenty of options to customize to different feet on this kind of thing, and we're gonna actually show one in a little bit too. So one of the first modifications we're gonna make is for the top here, and we're gonna actually use some cork. This time I did not get the kind with the adhesive on the back, which I kind of wish I would have. The last time I built these, I also went with cork, but I used one that had an adhesive, so it stuck to it. But in this case, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be removable, things like that, and it should work out just fine. As this is the world of YouTube and we try to make everything look perfect, let's not pretend. I should have put this top on here until I used it as a template for my cork. So let's take it off, cut a template for the cork, and then we'll get back to it. Just keeping it real here with you guys. We do any fine trimming we have to later, but that will give us a nice little template. You could use a razor here to cut this, or in this case, I'm simply going to use this scissors. This stuff cuts really simple. One thing I was worried about originally with this stuff is if it would just kind of fall apart once you started cutting it, but from what I've seen, it actually does hold together pretty well. Just like that, we've got a nice little topper. It's gonna sit on here, just like this. If you guys wanted, you could easily apply some sort of glue to this, double-sided tape, anything like that too. Or you can just leave it. The speaker weight's gonna hold it down. Up to you. I can't think of anything this time where I'm gonna have to take this apart again, but don't be surprised. What's the worst project you guys have been working on where you went through it, you thought you were just about done, realized you missed a step and had to go back to the beginning? I'm sure it's happened to you. It generally happens when you're putting some sort of furniture together, like some bunk beds or something like that. Something awful where you have to take apart some giant thing. So now we're getting to the point where we have a couple options here. We can use the cork like we have here, works fine. Put your speaker right on there. You're good to go, right? Another option, if you don't want to go this route, would be we can get rid of this, take the speaker aside for a second, and we would actually use the famous audiophile product, Blue Tack. And all we're going to do here is essentially couple it to the speaker stand. So you're just going to make yourself, some 4 of these little balls here. Try to make them roughly the same size. I'm not going to be too particular for this very moment, just for a demonstration here. But essentially, you'd put these here. Sure, put them in there. And what's going to happen now, you put the speaker on here, no cork, but you're going to push it on here and apply a little bit of force. And this is going to do a couple of things. Essentially, this is going to couple the speaker to the stand here. So it kind of becomes one unit. And we know that the stand is already really inert. You know, nothing's going on there, right? So that's great. And the other advantage is it's going to make these, well, it's going to make them less likely to tip over. When you have that blue tack on there, I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be able to take a kid, you know, pushing it, something like that. The actual stand is going to give you a lot more stability. Rather than if I had the cork on there, you know, you'd simply just push the speaker right off. And we don't really want to do that if we don't have to. So blue tack's a great option if you don't want to go the cork route. So I went inside quick and grabbed one of the other speaker stands that I've previously built to these. I just want to show you guys the cork on the type that has the adhesive. I do prefer this as it's not going anywhere. It has like a 3M adhesive on the back, so you don't have to worry about your speaker sliding around or anything like that, versus the style that I was showing you today with this, where it's going to be loose unless you use something like double-sided tape or some sort of adhesive to hold it down. It's probably going to be fine either way, but I just prefer this way. I like the look better too. That way, since it's secured and I could trim it up nicely, I don't have any hanging over the edge or anything like that. So I'll try to link this one below in the description as well. So now to add something that it's a little bit of for looks and there's probably a little bit of performance to be gained, but I honestly doubt it's a whole lot. And it's these feet, and it's just a simple Amazon purchase. And if you look inside of them, what you have going on here is just there's a ball bearing in the center. So is there some magic to this? I'm not sure. Like I said, the biggest difference you're going to get from this is going to be the sand that you put in these. But these do look better when you add these on. And in my case, I did not want to use the spikes since this was going to be on a hardwood floor. So now the game is, it turns into one of those games where you have to try to get it to go into the hole. There we go. You close that up. Then all you're simply going to do here is you're going to take this, you're going to thread it into here, and there is a little bit of a trick to this if you buy these. This is another one of those things that I'll link down below. They don't fit perfectly because this bar is not, it's not totally square, how they have that welded in. It's not bad, but what I had to do was add an additional washer. So just one additional washer was able to give me enough space to get these on here, and then everything is great. So you'll have to play with that. Each corner could be slightly different. You may need a washer, you may not on yours. I did, so it's just something to watch for on that. But it's a simple upgrade, and like I said, it may not give you a sonic improvement, but it's going to be better for the people that are going to be on, you know, carpet, things like that. And, you know, they look better too, so I like it. And you can get them in different colors too. You can get these in gold if you want, so let your freak flag fly, I guess. Okay guys, let's get a little crazy. Like I said, we would test this on how much it can hold. It said 75 pounds in some places. It said 100 in other places. Well, I weigh around 190 pounds. So let's see what happens. Just have your 911 on speed dial here, I guess. Here I am, the speaker stand. Oh yeah, look at that, no problem. I don't think I'm gonna chance this any longer though, so maybe I'll just get off here. Beyond this, where I would take this probably, you know, if you want to go a step further than what we have here, like I mentioned earlier, I would maybe rebuild this top plate. I would do something in wood, a hardwood. It'd look better. You could have whatever size you need. You could customize it to the speaker you're working with. Another thing is simply going to be just some cable management. You can use, you know, some cable things like this. You can come on here, you stick on here. You can use other types. These are commonly sold for like desk organization. So you'd put that on there. Run your cables, zip ties, whatever you want, but that'll clean things up a step further. And beyond that, I guess the only thing I can really think about is on the underside of the bottom, which is still kind of a thin steel that I don't think this is really going to matter between the feet and all the sand on here, but you could take some sort of reinforcement material, kind of like a Dynamat that they use on, you know, interiors of cars to reduce the resonance that, you know, occurs in that kind of thing. You could line the inside of this underneath it so you'd never know it was there, but it would add a little bit of deadening to that bottom plate as well, where these are really dead here, but in the bottom, we still have that. But it shouldn't really come into play because this should essentially kill everything from here to here. So I don't think it's necessary, but it's another step that you can take. Another thing to consider after you go through this product, and you may actually notice a difference in your sound, and where it might come into play is the bass, I would say primarily. You might notice that you either lost a little bass or it just has a bit of a different feel to it. And generally what's going to happen is you're going to have more of a tighter feeling bass. You're going to lose a lot of that reverberation, things that were getting transferred into your floor. That's no longer going to happen. It's going to be contained in the speaker, exactly essentially how you'd want it to. It's going to be more of a representation of what it's supposed to sound like, rather than all of the energy being pushed into the floor and everything around it. It may have gave a bass sound that was a little bit boomier, but this is going to sound tighter, so I think it's a good improvement. So let me know if you guys have any other speaker stand suggestions, other ones you've worked with that work well for modifying. I have no problem with the high dollar speaker stands. I myself have looked at a number of them, and there's one from Q Acoustics actually that I really like, but the price on it's a bit absurd. So if anyone wants to send that to me, or if Q Acoustics is watching, send that over. I'd greatly appreciate it. But until then, I'm going to use stands like this, and I'm actually going to build one too. I'm planning on building some custom stands for the CSS speakers I'm building. The ones that are way behind and should be done by now, but the supplies for those did arrive today, so hopefully I'll get on that real soon. Get that video out in the next week or two. All right, thanks for watching today. I'll see everyone later. Bye.